Today we're going to continue translating the main prayer, Shemone Esre. We haven't done this for quite a while, about a week or longer. The previous lesson we ended with the last blessing where we ask for things, Shomia Tfilah. Well, now the three conclusive blessings, one relatively short, but there are additions to it when it's Rosh Chodesh or Chol HaMoed. Today, by the way, is Rosh Chodesh Tevet, so we're going to be saying the additional prayer. I'm not going to translate the rare prayers because the whole purpose of this series of lessons is learning Hebrew through prayer, and therefore those prayers that we say like once a month, I'm not going to translate at this point. I'm going to only translate those prayers that we say 3 times a day, so people this way remember these words, and by remembering over 100 words, a few hundred words, the different roots probably. I'm not sure exactly how many different roots there are in the entire Shemone Esre, but it covers quite a big percentage of the entire main collection of words that one needs to know to be able to understand most places, in whether it's in the written Torah or in the Mishnah or in the halachic works. There are not so many different roots that one needs to know to be able to understand Hebrew. That's why these lessons are quite useful, in my opinion, for the beginners who are trying to learn Hebrew and who are also praying, and therefore will eventually remember these words quite quickly. So the pre-last blessing, temple service, Retze, be favorable, they translate. Ratzon is to want something, desire, and Retze is, in this case, a verb that we're asking Hashem to find it desirable, to want something. Be favorable, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem our God. Be'amcha, bet is with or on, towards. Am is people, Amcha, your people. Ha at the end is your, as we saw before. So be'amcha, Yisrael, Israel, uvitfilatam, and with their prayers. U is and, ve is the with or something like that. Tfilatam, tfila is prayer, tfilatam their prayers. Now in Nusach Sfard, which Hasidim also follow, it actually says utfilatam she'eh. So instead of bet in the beginning, it just says their prayers you should be favorable to. But as I mentioned before, I mostly follow here Nusach Ashkenaz, just to make it simpler, not to digress and discuss all the differences in the Nusuchayot. So and in their prayers, with their prayers. So accept their prayers. Vehashev, and bring back, restore. The same word as the same root as tshuva, as we mentioned before. We had this already a number of times. Vehashev, and bring back. Et, as I said, we don't really translate. It means it's pointing to the next noun. Et ha'avodah. Restore what? The temple service. Ha is the definite article. Avodah is a service, work, literally. Lidvir betecha. Dvir is a rare word. It's a specific. It has the meaning of a specific part of the temple, one of the holier parts of the temple. Lidvir betecha. Here it's in the more general sense. Holy of holies, they translate literally, but probably in a more general sense, to bring back your holiness and your presence in the temple. Beitecha, your house. Ve'ishei, and Esh is fire. Ishei is fire offerings. It's smichut again, so instead of Ishim, mem is dropped when it's when the one word is connecting to the next word. It's called smichut. We mentioned this a number of times already. Like Bnei Yisrael, not Banim Yisrael. So here, Ishei Yisrael, the offerings of fire of Israel. Yishei Israel, and the fire offerings of Israel. Utfilatam, and their prayers. U is and, tfila is prayer, tfilatam their prayers. Be'ahava, with love. Tikabel, receive, accept. Kabbalah is, by the way, the whole idea of mysticism being called Kabbalah. It wasn't always called Kabbalah, but the idea is they're trying to say that it's based on tradition. It's received tradition. Right? Likabel is to receive something. Tikabel is in the future second person. Tikabel, please receive, accept. Beratzon, with ratzon, same as Retze in the beginning of this blessing. Ratzon is desire, favor. With ratzon, beratzon. Utehi, and let it be, like this future, like tiyeh, tehi, let it happen. Utehi, and let it be. Le ratzon, same word again. Le to ratzon, desire. Let it be desirable. Tamid, always. Avodat Yisrael amecha. Avodah, as we said, is service. Avodat is smichut in feminine. We saw before smichut in plural masculine when mem is dropped. And here it's in singular feminine. So avodah is service. Avodat is service of something. Avodat Yisrael, service of Israel. Amecha, your people. Am is people, Amecha is your people. And as I said, we have this long addition here, which is added only on Rosh Chodesh and Chol HaMoed. Chol HaMoed, there's only two types of Chol HaMoed we have in the calendar, and that is Pesach and Sukkot. And Rosh Chodesh is new moon, that's every month. Our calendar, of course, is based on the moon. When the sun is in such when the moon is in such position that's approximately between the earth and the sun, we don't see it. And then all of a sudden, the next day, we see a little bit of the moon at the end of the day, right after sundown. And usually that day becomes Rosh Chodesh. And right, the months, therefore, the Jewish months are natural. The non-Jewish months are just 12th of the year approximately, and it was just a decision based on like Romans and whatever, that this one will be 31 days, this one will be 30 days, right? It had to do with politics, why, for instance, July and August are next to each other and they both have 31 days. But there's nothing special about these months. They're just approximately 1/12 of the year. Whereas the Jewish months, they always depend on the natural phenomenon, and that is the moon. When the moon appears, that's the new month. The word Chodesh comes from the word Chadash, new. So on Rosh Chodesh, we have, it's not a Yom Tov, it's not really a day, it's not a holiday day. We don't rest on Rosh Chodesh, but there are longer prayers, and there are these additions, special additions, in the prayers. And also, of course, on Chol HaMoed, that's the middle days of Yom Tov, between the beginning and the end of Pesach and of Sukkot. So the intermediate days that are a little bit like a Yom Tov. They're not exactly holidays in full sense, meaning we drive our cars, we speak on the phone, something we wouldn't do on Yom Tov or on Shabbat. But on Chol HaMoed, these things are permissible. But people try to avoid going to work unless they lose a lot of money. So these Chol HaMoed is almost the same level as Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is slightly less than Chol HaMoed, because in Rosh Chodesh you're allowed to do work completely, whereas on Chol HaMoed there are certain works that are prohibited. But other than that, they're both somewhat holy days, but not as big as real holidays. So that's why there is this addition in the regular Shemone Esre. Of course, on Shabbat and holidays, our Shemone Esre is much shorter. The whole Shemone Esre is just 7 blessings instead of 19. But on Chol HaMoed and Rosh Chodesh, the same law applies. We just add this additional prayer. Time of Rosh Chodesh is in a way time of review, right? It's a new month, right? 1 month passed, a new month is starting, so it's a review of what happened before and what will happen after. Some of it is mentioned in our Tefillah of Musaf, the next prayer on Rosh Chodesh, the Musaf prayer. So the Yaleh V'Yavo is basically a lot of synonyms here that let Hashem make our prayers go up and be received with compassion and with the love, with the same word, the Yiratze, right, Ratzon, that we just had in this blessing. That our prayers should be received on this day of either Rosh Chodesh or Chol HaMoed, right, or Chag, holiday such and such. There are a lot of various hints, by the way, in this prayer. Vilna Gaon wrote a small commentary to this prayer that is printed in the beginning of his commentary to one of the volumes of Shulchan Aruch, of Or HaChaim section of Shulchan Aruch. And he says that there are a lot of various hints here, the various words and the numbers of various synonyms, which of course I'm not going to go into. So on regular days we continue V'techezena, and let our eyes see, literally. The Tav in the beginning is a future feminine. The eyes are feminine. So Het and Zayin, this root has to do with seeing. Lachazot, contemplating on something, beholding, they translate more beautifully. May our eyes behold. So Tech Ve is and, Tav in the beginning is future third person feminine. Techeze na, it's feminine plural. Really, this is ancient Hebrew. I think in modern Hebrew they don't usually say like that in the feminine future, but in the biblical Hebrew this is how the feminine future is na at the end. V'techeze na. They should see eineinu, our eyes. Ayin is eye. Eineinu is our eyes. As I said before, nu at the end is ours. So may our eyes behold. Bishuvcha, when you come back. Be is a preposition with your coming, or on your coming. Shuv is coming back, as I said before. Shuva, of course, is from the same root. Shuvcha is your coming back. Cha at the end is your. So may our eyes behold your return, Litzion, to Zion, be rachamim, with compassion. Rachamim is compassion, and be is with. Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, hamachazir shechinato Litzion. So the blessing ends for us. This is the Babylonian nusach of this blessing. In Babel, they prayed, of course, that Hashem's presence will come back. In Eretz Israel, they actually had a different ending of this prayer. It was She'otcha livadcha bi'ira na'avod. Only you we will worship. Because of course there the temple service was actually going on during the second temple. And it's interesting that this nusach actually was preserved in the European lands. The Ashkenazi Jews, we came from mostly the second exile. Most of the Sephardi Jews, a lot of them, they were exiled back in the Babylonian times and stayed. A lot of them stayed in exile. Of course, there was always moving back and forth, but a lot of them come from the original exile, the exile to Babel. For instance, the Persian Jews, the Iranians, right? The Jews further in Uzbekistan, a lot of them stayed there from the times of Queen Esther and earlier. But the Ashkenazi Jews, a lot of us come from Jews who were exiled to Italy at the time already the second temple and after its destruction. So from Italy already we went on to Germany and later to Eastern Europe. That's why a lot of the prayers that were preserved are the original nusach of the land of Israel rather than Babylonian nusach. So in this particular case, in times of Rashi, this was the ending of the brocha apparently. But today we only have this ending on Yom Tov, on holidays. On Yom Tov, on Musaf, the Chazan ends the brocha as our ancestors in Israel used to end. She'otcha livadcha bi'ira na'avod. Only you we will worship. But all other times, both Sephardi and Ashkenazi Jews, and which makes sense, this ending makes a lot of sense in exile, and that is hamachazir shechinato Litzion, who returns his presence to Zion. Hamachazir, he in the beginning, of course, is as we said, definite article. Machazir, mem, as I coined this term, strong form of the verb. There are all kinds of technical terms for this, like hifir and whatever, but I'm making it as simple as possible. So machazir, like lachzor is to come back, and machazir is to bring back. So hamachazir, the one who brings back. Shechinato, shechina is presence. Shechinato is his presence. So he brings back his presence, Litzion, to Zion. That Hashem brings his presence back to Zion. Now, the idea of, by the way, divine presence is a very complex idea, what exactly this means. Rambam thought it's some kind of a glory, some kind of a manifestation, I guess. It's some kind of light, maybe spiritual light that's shown to show that Hashem is with us. It's not really Hashem himself. It's just something that shows, as we say in English, presence. What does it mean, presence? That is something outside of Hashem, according to Rambam. It's not really Hashem. It's something that Hashem created to show his closeness to him to some extent. But right, so when, for instance, in the temple times, right, it said that the divine glory filled the temple, whatever, that is all probably Shekhinah. On the other hand, Ramban, who was a Mikubo, he was a Kabbalist, he thought that Shekhinah is Hashem, actually. In a certain way, when Hashem acts a certain way, his manifestation is called Shekhinah, his presence. It is Hashem, it's nothing else, it's just Hashem. Another way of saying Hashem is with us. Whatever the case may be, we usually talk about Hashem's presence. For example, during prayer, it says that the person should imagine as if Hashem is standing, Hashem's presence is in front of him, that Shekhinah is right in front of him. So, in this particular case, the Shekhinah, this word is used in the blessing itself. Hashem brings back his presence to Zion. And maybe we'll merit this, to see it with our eyes, B'ezrat Hashem. And on this I'm going to end for today, and we have now a very long brocha, the longest brocha left. Modim, and then another brocha that's not so long, Sim Shalom. Probably 2 other lessons will be needed to finish the main part of Shemone Esre. And I don't know if maybe we'll do also the piece that's after Shemone Esre, a personal prayer, Elokai Nisor Shnimira. That also, since we say it every day, 3 times a day, we should probably translate it, because it's going to help again to learn the words and to memorize and to this way better understand Hebrew in general. And if you like this video, please press like and please subscribe to our channel.